What's going on, guys? You're watching Turn Left Garage. I'm Tyler. Today we're going to be working on my 2003 Honda Civic Si. I'm going to be installing a roll cage. It's pretty much already all installed. Just got some welding to finish up, a couple bars left to put in. But I'm going to kind of just be going through how I go about installing the cage and just some different things to keep in mind when I do it. This is only my second time installing a cage, so I'm still kind of learning, but I'm just gonna go through and show you how I go about it. So this is my 2003 Honda Civic Si. Obviously you can see it's in need of a motor and transmission. That will be coming soon, and that'll be another video, I'm sure. But the first thing where we start on this cage, you see the angle iron down there on the rocker panel. We run those along the length of the car back to the back seat, and that is just a piece of 1/8 inch, I believe 2 by 1.5 inches angle iron. Notched it to fit around these humps on the floorboard, but those will probably, this one might get cut out, we're not sure yet, for when we install the seat. That'll probably also be another video. You see we have a couple welds we got to finish here, but for the most part it's welded together. This roll cage actually comes as a kit. Comes as a kit, kind of, you can give measurements from roll cage components. That's rollcagecomponents.com, and they do a pretty good job of, you know, cutting everything to the proper length, notching it. There is some modification required. It doesn't fit together like Legos, so it does require a little bit of fabrication to make it fit. And there is something that I did wrong, and it may be wrong, maybe not be wrong. Maybe somebody in the comments could point it out, and I probably will later on point it out. What I did wrong, I installed something improperly. If somebody could tell me in the comments why I should cut it out and fabricate a new one, then I would be open to doing that. But right now I'm just gonna leave it because I don't think it's significant. It just looks like, wow, you did that wrong, you know. So let me know in the comments if you could see what I'm talking about. But we'll get into a little bit of where I started after installing the angle iron. We'll go from there. So once we get the angle iron welded in onto the rocker panel, you know, it's kind of tough getting that thinner metal welded to the 1/8 inch steel, but tie it in on both the top and the bottom, and then from there you set your main loop, which is going to be this bar. It goes from one side up over down to the other side, and you weld that, you get that level. Another thing I forgot to mention, we have it up on jack stands and these little dollies here on the tires. You can see that, and try and get it as level as possible. You know, we're not building a piano, as my dad would say, but you want to get it pretty close, because that, you know, when you go to start installing the bars in the cage, you want to, you know, the more level it is, the, you know, the easier the parts and the pieces are going to fit in. But we go ahead and we weld this main loop in and get that level, square, you know, even on both sides, and weld that in, and just start, we tack it in. And from there, once you have that in, the halo bar is the one that goes all around over your head. Once you have the halo in place, we use ratchet straps to kind of hold it in place up here, get a good idea. And it is definitely a lot easier when you have at least one extra set of hands. Get that done, you get that in place, tack it in kind of where, you know, close to where you think it needs to be, and, you know, we weld it in, cut it, you know, weld it back, you know, so it's kind of trial and error. It's not, like I said, not a perfect fit. Then once you have this bar in, you can get your A posts in. You get those A posts in, and those require, you know, some modification as well, a little bit of fabrication to get those proper and to fit. That could be challenging, but once you have that in, it's pretty much, if you got the distance from your main loop to your A post, that's gonna, you know, and when you are setting those, you want to keep in mind the length of the bars that you have for your doors, and that, for the most part, if you can keep those consistent, then, you know, from the bottom up, you're gonna fit and not have too much trouble getting these bars in. And the rules pack, I don't know if I mentioned this. This is for a dirt car. This is gonna be raced on a dirt oval track. I don't know if I mentioned it, maybe I did. But the rules require, I believe, at least 3 horizontal bars on the driver's side. I think it only requires 2 on the driver's side. You know, some people will run a straight bar across the bottom and on the top, and then run a diagonal bar going across a Z bar setup. And you can, you know, roll cage components, they can accommodate you for a door like that. This was just kind of, you know, this is easier than, honestly, those angles, to get those to fit in there, and you know, the chances of getting that diagonal bar to fit properly, you know, did that on the last one. It wasn't that easy, and this was a lot easier. I did all the doors and stuff myself without, you know, an extra set of hands. So once you get that in, you get the dash bar that goes across in, and you kind of just build off of that. Once you have these 2, I guess you'd say these 4 pieces, the main loop, the halo, and the A posts, and you got those set where they need to be, everything else kind of is almost like putting together a Lego set. So we're gonna get the welder set up, and I'm gonna get in here, do some welding, get this thing buttoned up and ready for the next step in the build. So I did just briefly want to touch on one thing. You know, I'm in here welding on this car. I've never had any formal training. You know, I'm building the roll cage. You see a lot of stuff on social media, a lot of negativity in social media surrounding welding culture, if that's what you want to call it. A lot of, you know, it's the internet. I don't know if I have to say much more. For me, you know, a lot of people say, you know, you shouldn't learn how to weld on a roll cage, blah, blah, blah. You know, I did take some practice passes, welded, you know, placed together scrap and all kinds of stuff like that. But for me, I'm the one that has to get in this car. You know, I'm not putting anybody else in this car. I welded my last roll cage and I wrecked it twice. I wrecked that car twice, hit head on at over 60 miles an hour both times. Cage held together. You know, I wasn't injured, nothing like that, and I'm confident with it. I'm not quite to the point where I'll put somebody else in the car, you know, just yet. But you know, we have more stuff coming down the pipeline, like I said, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I'm more geared towards the do-it-yourself. And you know, I'm sure if anybody sees this, there's likely to be comments that about, you know, the quality of the welds and stuff. You know, I'm not trying to make it look pretty. I want it to stick together, you know. And I'm sure eventually the quality of the welds will improve. I'm just gonna show, just for transparency, like I'm not I'm not a welder, you know, I'm not a mechanic, nothing like that. So, you know, I just hope it encourages people to go out and try things that they wouldn't normally do. Or, you know, there's gonna be a lot of people that tell you not to do this or not to do that, and you know, and while this does involve safety and you know, my livelihood, you know, you got to start somewhere, and this is what I want to do. I want to race, so I'm teaching myself how to do it, and you really can. It's not hard. You just, you know, it takes practice, and I'm still practicing, and they'll get better, and they'll get better, and they'll get better, you know. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Feel free to comment. You know, I take any criticism I can get, you know, any pointers, anything like that. So. So we're gonna move around to the back and get the back sides of these welds done. There's gonna be a couple little touch-ups we're gonna have to do, just make sure we don't have any spots we missed. The other thing we've not yet figured out, and I'm sure we have a couple different ideas how we're gonna do it, but right now, to get these welds up here where the halo, you know, you see obviously here, you can't get to that. So we might have to resort to cutting either a hole in the roof or cutting the roof to access those, so we have welds all the way around. Gee, careful. So not going to be too much going on in this video today, but you know, I'd like to talk about a little bit of what I have in mind going forward, and what's, you know, what you can expect as far as content moving forward coming out of the Turn Left Garage. You know, tomorrow we're going to be putting the motor and transmission in. We have it's all stock, it's the rules K20 A3, and it's a 5-speed K-series transmission. That's going to be going in the car tomorrow, and that'll be probably a separate video. We have other builds in the pipeline that I'm gonna, you know, it'll be from stripping the car down to bare bones like this one is, and from the very beginning process, this car is just pulled off the road, and we're gonna make it a race ready car. It's also a Honda Civic. That one's going to be a little different because it's going to be a swap. We're working with K-Series motors and transmissions. That's for the most part what the lane that we've gotten into. They're fast, they're powerful, efficient, and they win races, you know. So that's the route we've gone. So yeah, going forward, that'll be the kind of stuff you could expect to see out of the channel, and you know, we can get as technical and in-depth as you want. So like I said, guys, nothing much to it here today. Not much to do, but tomorrow there's going to be a lot more. We'll have that in another video. Going to be putting the motor, the transmission in, and getting this thing looking more like a race car. So if you want to see more and you want to see the process, like I said, we have another car in the back. Once this is done, we're going to get started on that. Also, we're going to be racing this, so we get to see it go from looking like this to running on a racetrack, hopefully bringing home some trophies with it. And like I said, if you like that, if you want to see more of it, hit the like button, hit the follow, and turn on your notifications so next time I upload, you'll get a notification. You can check that out. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Turn Left Garage.